In this video, I'm going to break down the complete end-to-end roadmap on how you can learn everything which is needed to get your first data science job. We'll start by looking at the actual data science job listings on LinkedIn. We'll analyze what kind of skill sets they are asking for, and then we'll create a detailed roadmap on what are the step-by-step things you have to learn so that you can apply to those roles and ace the interview. My name is Anwar and I've been working in the US tech industry as a data scientist for over 10 years now. I've worked at companies like Meta, Cisco, Wells Fargo, and in all these years, I've learned a lot about data science. I've applied to many roles in different companies, and I've been part of different hiring committees where I've interviewed different candidates and also mentored the incoming junior data scientists. And based off all that knowledge, I'm going to share with you a step-by-step data science learning roadmap, which is based off the actual jobs which are posted on LinkedIn. But before we go and start looking into those data science job postings, I first wanted to share my thoughts on why I think 2025 is a great time for you to learn data science. So when we go to this website from Department of Labor and Statistics, we can see that here they have outlined different computer professions, what their entry-level education is, and what is their median pay in 2023. When we click on any of these, we can also see that what is the expected growth in the next 10 years. And as we can see, for web developer and digital designers, it is expected to increase by 8%. And there are currently about 222,000 jobs open, and it is expected that about 18,600 more jobs would be added in the next 10 years. Now we can see that for some other occupations as well. For example, if we look at computer programmers, it is expected to decline by 10%. The main reason for this could be the automation and the AI's ability to write the code in future. Here we can see that the number of open jobs is about 140,000, and it is expected that about 13,400 jobs would be lost in the next 10 years. We can also look that for database administrators and architects, and we can see that it is expected to grow at a 9%, which is much faster than average. Now let's see what the numbers are for data science related occupation. So here we can see this is the closest related to AI and data science occupations. When we click on this, it is expected to grow at a 26%, which is much faster than the average growth rate. Now let's look at another data source. So this is a website TrueUp. Here, if we go on trends, we can see that they are capturing different kind of tech trends. And when we click on the number of open jobs, we can see that the number went up around April 2022, and then there was a constant decline. And since January 23, we are seeing sort of a constant position. The number of open jobs are hovering about 200,000. This is the number of open tech jobs in the US. Now, if we want to look how the number is doing for AI, ML, and data science related roles, we can come here and look at different sector reports. Here they have different kind of sector reports. The one which we are interested in is this AI ML report. And when we come here, we can see that the number of open jobs, they are actually increasing with every passing month. So even when the number of open jobs overall are decreasing or hasn't increased much, we can see that the trend for AI ML roles is pretty good. And that is because since the launch of ChatGPT, AI is pretty much top of mind for everyone. A lot of companies are hiring for it. And we can also see that by looking at the Google Trends. So this is the Google Trends for the term AI in the US since 2004. And we can see that there was some movement, but there is a big uptick movement happening around October, November 2022. That is when ChatGPT was launched. And we can see that since then, the interest in the term has grown exponentially across the US. And we can also validate this by going to LinkedIn. If I search for data scientist job in the US, I can see there is about 5,080 roles available. Now let's see how much this number ranks in comparison to some other tech roles. For example, if I enter here front-end developer, I can see that there is 3,422 jobs, which is lower than that of data science. Similarly, if I come here and write DevOps engineer, it is again under 4,000. Now let me try Java developer. And again, it is about 4,000. So These are very popular technologies, and the number of open jobs is hovering about 4,000 in the entire US, whereas number of data science jobs in the US is at about 5,000 level, which is much higher. Now I'll be doing an analysis of what are the different skill sets which are asked in the different data science job openings. So I'm here on LinkedIn. I have searched for the term data scientist in across US, and here I can see there are 5,091 jobs opened. And to further filter it down, I'm going to just look at the entry level, internship, and associate roles. Now let's look at some of the data science job openings and see what are the different technologies or skill set which is needed to get a job for that kind of data science roles. Now I'm going to skip some of these because this is lead data scientist, senior machine learning engineer, senior. So I'm going to skip these. So when I come here, this looks like a junior friendly role. So let's see what are the different kind of skill set they're asking here. So this is very general. You should be able to perform rigorous offline and A/B testing. Let me copy this and bring that here. There's nothing technical here. Let's go down. There is a degree requirement. Then there is NLP, machine learning, deep learning, optimization, algorithm, and software development. Let me copy that and bring that here as well. Then there is search and recommendation related knowledge. Let me bring that here. And let's see. Now we have Python, SQL, PySpark, machine learning libraries, big data processing in cloud environment is expected. So let me copy that and bring that here as well. Now let me go to another job. Let's look at this one. You should be able to do data analysis, end-to-end machine learning, model development, visualization, collaboration, reporting, research. They didn't have a mention of any particular skill set, but still let me copy these headlines here just to make sure that when we look at what kind of stuff we have to cover, we make sure that it covers what is asked here. So let me copy this model development and model development and then visualization. Okay, let me come here. There is another data science job. Looks sort of beginner friendly because they're asking for 3+ years of experience. Let's see what is the skill set they're asking. So they mentioned Python, PySpark. So let me copy and bring that here. Then there is a mention of SQL. Let me bring that here. Then they said MS Office tools. I think that this is pretty generic, not something you have to prepare for. And then there is no mention of any other technical skill set in the rest of the job description. However, here they mentioned machine learning and AI. Okay, and now let's look at another one. This is senior data scientist. I'm going to skip this principal, skip data scientist. So you have data scientist, statistics, and data analysis skills. Let me bring that here. Then they are asking for proficiency in applying advanced machine learning methods. Bring that here. Strong in programming on Python or MATLAB. I'm just definitely going to pick just Python because that is what is actually used. I have not seen MATLAB being used in any industrial setting, like ever. Experience with neurophysiological data analysis and interpretation. Yeah, nothing much. Again, here, this looks like a junior friendly 1 to 2 years experience. Let's see what they're asking for in terms of skill set. Data scientist, data analyst experience, financial data, Python and SQL. Very understandable. Now let's look at What else they are asking for? Software engineering principles. Okay. And then they are asking for great communication, etc. There is no mention of any other skill set here. Let's look at one or two more. Again, data scientist 3, very long job description, but I don't see any particular skill sets mentioned here. Analyze diverse data sources, aligned with KPI, perform validation, degree in statistics, mathematics, data science, or any other field. Okay, I'll just skip that because they have no mention of any technical skill set. Let's look at this one. Okay, so they have mention of some technical skill set. That's good. So fundamental in programming, statistics, mathematical and ML networks, neural network, tree-based, etc. Let me copy all of that and bring that here. Then we have expert experience designing, developing, implementing machine learning models, algorithms, familiar with different frameworks. Let me bring that here. And then we have awareness regarding memory, disk, input, output, CPU, GPU, software design best practices. Okay. Let me bring that here. And then there is, of course, Python and ML AI. It's already covered. Okay, let's look at these two, and then we'll see that what they're actually asking in pretty much in all these jobs. So we have SQL, R, and data visualization. Let me copy that here. Then we have a data frame based library. Any of these. Let me bring this here. Pandas is the most popular, so that's what I would be encouraging. Analysis and interpretation of data, strong communication, etc. I don't see any other specific skill set mentioned here. One thing to note here is that since I have LinkedIn Premium, I can see how many applicants this job has. This job has 4,778 applicants. So you can see that for junior roles, there is a lot of competition for such roles. One reason for this is that it supports easy apply. So pretty much any job which has easy apply enabled usually gets a lot of applicants. Then this job seems to be posted quite some time back, and then it was reposted 1 week ago, and it pays well. So probably that's why a lot of competition. Okay, so last one. Let's look at this role. And here we can see there is some technical terms mentioned. TensorFlow, PyTorch, XGBoost, scikit-learn. Let me copy all of these here. I missed the T. Now here, 1 to 4 years of experience in development and deployment of ETL pipelines and machine learning models. Let me copy this here. And then they have Python, Scala, or similar programming. So let me just copy Python because that's what is used in most of the data science roles. And then cloud platform, AWS and Azure. Cool. So I've looked at about 10-15 roles, and out of that have got the requirements for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 job postings for data science roles where they have mentioned any specific skill set. And next, let's see that what are the commonalities in these, and then what are the overall things we have to cover and from where we can learn it. So now as we have gathered data from 8 different data science jobs, let's do the analysis of these job postings and see that what are the common things which are asked in these jobs. So let's start with this rigorous testing and A/B testing. This comes under statistics. Then we have NLP, machine learning, deep learning. So that is ML, and then I'll say deep learning, and then NLP. So that's covered here. Optimization algorithm. This is similar to what we will cover in ML and deep learning. Software development. This is related to Python. Again, search recommendation and systems. This is again related to ML. Then we have Python. It is already covered there. Then we have SQL. Again covered here. Then we have PySpark. Machine learning libraries covered. Actually, let me put pandas and matplotlib in cloud environment, and then there is cloud. Okay, then we have end-to-end machine learning. I think we have covered most of the stuff here. So this is done. Model development. Again, this is ML. Visualization, this matplotlib. And if you want to learn Tableau, then this part is covered as well. Python, we have already covered. PySpark, we already covered. SQL, we already covered. Machine learning and AI, we already covered. Data science statistics, we have covered stats. Data analysis, again, once you have PySpark, Tableau, SQL, you can do data analysis. Advanced machine learning, deep learning, NLP, these are advanced machine learning. Python, we already covered. Again, Python and SQL, we have covered. Software engineering principles, this is related to Python. Okay, programming, mainly Python we have covered. Then we have statistics, we have covered that. Mathematics, ML algorithms, neural networks, tree-based model, this is all ML and deep learning. Supervised, unsupervised feature engineering, again, this is related to ML. Implementing and developing AI ML frameworks. TensorFlow, this is related to deep learning. XGBoost, again, ML, scikit-learn, we have covered that. Software design, best practices, this is related to Python, and then Python. So all of that is covered too. Now going to the second last job description, SQL, we have covered. R, I don't think there's a need to do that. Data visualization, we have covered. Data frame-based library, pandas, I've added here. So we have pandas here. Then TensorFlow, PyTorch, XGBoost, scikit-learn, we have covered here in this path here. And then machine learning models, Python, we have already covered. And then cloud platforms, this is, we have added here. So in nutshell, we have to cover these different areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. These are the different 10 components which you have to cover thoroughly for you to be able to crack pretty much all these interviews and be job ready for different data science roles. Okay, so I've written down here all the 10 things which we have to cover. I think a good learning path would be that first you learn SQL, Python, Tableau, and once you learn these three, then you would be pretty much ready to apply for the role of data analyst. So let's say if we learn Python, SQL, and then Tableau, or you can learn Power BI as well. Any dashboarding tool is fine. So once you learn these three things, then you would be able to do a lot of data manipulation, data analysis, which is needed for a lot of data analyst jobs, business analyst jobs, and is also a core component of most of the data science roles. Once you have learned these, and then you start experimenting and playing around with different data sources, you develop a sense of how you can extract different insights out of data sources. Then the next step should be that you start learning statistics here, then ML, these Python libraries like pandas, scikit-learn. And this will be the second step in your knowledge. Now you know how to do the data analysis in this first phase. In the second phase, you would also be able to do the prediction of the data about what can come next. And these are the libraries which you need to master to be able to do that. Once you have done that, then the next step could be that how you can use some advanced machine learning technologies like deep learning, NLP, and now also Gen AI. So this is when you should start using that. So I'll put deep learning, and this includes frameworks like TensorFlow, PyTorch, etc. and some knowledge of NLP so that you can also answer some Gen AI related questions. So now we have covered pretty much all of that. Then the last step is learning PySpark and cloud so that you can use and deploy these machine learning algorithms at scale for very large amount of data. And that is where PySpark and cloud technologies would come in. So this very first step will tell you how you can analyze different data sources, and this is what is needed for the role of data analyst. The second step is that how you can get some predictive insights out of the data. For example, in the first step, you can just look at the data. For example, if it is a sales data, then you can tell in what part of the country most of the sales are happening. And if it is a recurring revenue thing, you can tell that which part of the country customers are not renewing their licenses, etc. So this is just looking at the backward data and extracting insights. That is what you'll be able to do in the very first step here by learning Python, SQL, and Tableau. When you learn the second step, then you'll be able to do some predictive analysis. For example, you'll be able to build a prediction model which will tell you that which customer is more likely to churn or not renew than others. You'll also be able to develop some recommendation related models. So that is what this second step is. The third step is that when you take your basic knowledge of machine learning and statistics and then further go beyond that to learn deep learning and also Gen AI, NLP, etc. So that is the third step, which is advanced ML. And then the last step is that how do you do all of that at scale using PySpark and cloud technologies like AWS, GCP, etc. So the first step is just to get your foot in the door as a data analyst. The second step is that you have some understanding of statistics and machine learning so that you can run some ML models. Third is advanced ML. And the fourth one is running all of this at scale. So this is all you need to learn to become a very good data scientist who's able to answer most of the interview questions as well as excel once you get the job. So we started by looking at the job descriptions of different data science roles. Then we saw what are the common things which are asked in all these job descriptions. And now I have categorized all the things which we have to learn into the 4 stages of learning so that you could go step by step and progress through all these stages. Now, next in the video, let's see that at each of these steps, what your game plan for learning should be, from where you should be learning it, how much time you should be expecting to spend on that, and what should be the definition of done. When can you think that you have learned enough that you can move to the next stage? So let's go to the first stage, which is that of becoming a data analyst. And this stage, we need to learn Python, we need to learn SQL, and we need to know Tableau. And as I said, it is very important to see that what the definition of done for each of these learning resources could be, because some of these, especially Python and SQL, it can take you ages and you can never really say that you have fully mastered it. For example, I started learning programming in 2005. And after 10 years of coding in different programming languages, I started Python in 2015. And now it's 2025. So I've been coding for 20 years and Python specifically for 10 years, but I don't think I have courage enough to say that I have fully mastered Python or any other programming language, for instance. It is therefore very important that when you start learning these things, you have a clear idea of what the definition of completion should be so that you can move to the next stage. So coming back to Python, I think a very good resource on Python, especially for freshers, if you have basic idea of computers and a little bit of program knowledge, a very good resource is Jose Portia's course on Udemy. It is not a very long course, but I think he did a pretty good job of explaining different Python concepts. Another good resource if you are a fresher is W3 School. And needless to say that now you can also use ChatGPT to help you learn Python or any other programming language you want to learn. I've created a full video on that, on what are different prompts you can use. Use ChatGPT as sort of an interactive instructor with which you can get a back and forth chat and learn Python programming, and wherever you get stuck, how you can ask for help there. So ChatGPT is also definitely a very good resource, or Google Gemini, depending on what your preference is. So these are some very good resources for you to learn Python. Now, in terms of what the definition of done should be here is that if you could solve lead code 5 easy questions, then I think you can say that you have Python good enough that you can proceed to the next steps. Because you don't have to be a master of Python to be able to learn the rest of the things. And in most beginner level data science interviews, the level of Python programming is not expected to be very high. So if you could solve 5 lead code easy questions, then I think you are good to go. Now coming to the next step, which is learning SQL. Again, W3 School and ChatGPT are two very good resources which you can use to effectively learn. And once you have done a little bit of practice on both of these, then there is a very good playlist on lead code for SQL questions. It has about 50 questions, and the questions are very neatly categorized into different categories. So you can start from the very top and keep doing all those 50 questions. If you could do all those 50 questions, I think that is a very clear indication of that you have learned a good chunk of SQL. Now coming to Tableau, I think this is probably the easiest to learn among all these. Udemy has some very good courses on Tableau. I haven't personally tried any of these, but I think overall Tableau or Power BI, they are very intuitive tools. So once you start working on any of these, it is very easy to pick up. So my advice to you would be that you pick any YouTube or Udemy tutorial, which is about 2 to 3 hours long, and try to install a free version of Tableau so that you could follow along whatever they are teaching in that tutorial. And I think that should be sufficient for you to claim that you also know Tableau now. So YouTube or Udemy course, which is about 2 to 3 hours long. And also make sure that you are also following along. So this is your plan to learn Python, SQL, and Tableau. You should learn it in this order. And I think if you allocate 1 month to learning Python, 1 month to learning SQL, and lastly 1 month to revise these two and also learn Tableau, because learning Tableau I don't think will take you a lot of time. So in about 3 months with a dedicated study plan, you should be able to learn these 3 things. And the good thing about learning these 3 things first is that with this knowledge, you can then start applying for data analyst role while you are still learning the next steps of the data science journey. So once you have learned this, then the next step is that now you have to learn statistics, machine learning, and here you'll also be learning some libraries which are related to Python, mainly pandas, scikit-learn, matplotlib, etc. So again, let's break down that what are the things you have to cover, from where you can cover it, how much time you're expected to spend in each of these categories, and what the criteria for graduation should be so that you could know that now you know it enough that you can move to the next stage. So starting with the statistics, because this is one of the most dense things which can take you ages to master. So it's very important that you just have a very well-crafted study plan and do not spend a lot of time trying to learn and understanding the nuances of statistics. Statistics is a very deep field. People do PhD and postdocs in just statistics. So as a data scientist, your focus should be that what is the bare minimum you could learn the rest of the stuff as well. So for statistics, one book which I usually recommend to everyone is Practical Statistics for Data Scientists. And when you're getting that book, make sure that you get the second edition. That book does a pretty good job because it starts with what is average, what is standard deviation. Then it talks about what are different data distributions. Then it goes into experimentation, hypothesis testing, etc. And then the second part of the book, which builds on this first half, is also related to different ML algorithms. It goes into the intuition behind different popular machine learning algorithms. For example, linear regression, logistic regression, then there are decision trees, support vector machine, supervised or unsupervised classification. All of that is covered in that single book. So if you go through the contents of that book, it is a very beginner friendly book. it should be able to cover both the statistics and machine learning theoretical components. It also has Python follow along exercises. If you think you are comfortable enough, try to implement those as well. All in all, I think if you spend about 2 months going through that book, fully understanding it, wherever you get stuck, consult ChatGPT or other internet resources so that you develop a very good understanding of what is covered in that book. Also, make sure that you make good notes of that book so that next time when you have to revise it, for example, for some interview preparation, you don't have to go through the entire book. You already have some cliff notes which you can consult in a fast enough manner. Now, for pandas and matplotlib, I think if you could watch any good tutorial on YouTube, it should be good enough because pandas is mainly just SQL written in Python. So if you have developed some good understanding of how to use SQL, then learning pandas shouldn't take you a lot of time. And matplotlib, you just need to learn most basic 4 to 5 plots which are used on day-to-day basis, and that should be enough for matplotlib as well. Now coming to the scikit-learn, I think that is where you would be actually implementing a lot of what you have learned in the ML section of this book of practical statistics for data scientists. And here my recommendation would be another book which is hands-on scikit-learn and PyTorch. So this is going a little bit into the next section where we are learning advanced ML. But this book will give you a very good handle, and it has a lot of good exercises which you can implement to develop your understanding of scikit-learn, how it is used along with pandas, and what is the similarity between scikit-learn and PyTorch. And these are the two libraries which are used on most frequent basis for conventional machine learning and deep learning. So if you have developed a good understanding of how you can use them with some follow along exercises, I think that is a very good investment of your time. So this book will again take you at least 2 months if you do all the exercises which they have explained. All in all, it will take you 4 months to go through this book and then this book as well. One small advice I would give is that try to use Google Colab notebooks, because they even offer you free GPU memory in case you want to run some very intensive algorithms there. Also, you don't have to set up anything. It is free. And the best part is that there is an AI help available there. So if there is a code which you don't know how to use, you can ask AI to help you write the code right there. So now with the investment of 4 months time, you should be able to have a good grasp on statistics, machine learning, and different Python libraries. And the best part is that you've also covered PyTorch, which is used in deep learning, which we are going to cover in the next section, where we'll be seeing how you can learn different advanced ML concepts. So coming to the next stage where we are planning to learn deep learning, then we have to learn NLP and some Gen AI as well. Now, as I said in the previous book which I recommended, you have already covered PyTorch. And I think PyTorch is the library of choice when it comes to deep learning. There are other competitors. TensorFlow used to be great, but now in the recent days, I've seen that it is used less and less, and PyTorch is gaining a lot of popularity. Same goes for Keras. So if you have learned and understood PyTorch, that is the only library you need to know to be able to implement most of the deep learning technologies. Now for NLP and Gen AI, there is a very good book from O'Reilly. The name of the book is Hands-on Large Language Models. And that book very nicely covers how from ML we went to different concepts of NLP, and then how that led to transformers and then different advanced LLMs. I think that is a very good book which will give you the basics of NLP and also Gen AI. Now, the book is good from theoretical perspective, and it has some exercises, especially for the later part when you would be fine-tuning LLMs, writing different prompts for the LLMs. But for the basic concepts of NLP, you might have to go through some YouTube tutorial where you could see that how bag of words is implemented, or how you can use one-hot encoding of words to be able to learn a basic model. I think a very good resource if you want to actually implement that would be Kaggle. because Kaggle has a lot of different data sources and competitions, and you can find any good text related data source and start trying whatever you have learned in these books and your other knowledge this far. A very good thing about Kaggle is that you can also see that what are the notebooks which other people have published, so you can also benefit and learn from those as well. So overall, PyTorch we have already covered in the previous step. In this step, you would be mainly going through this book from O'Reilly. Wherever you see there is knowledge gap, you would be covering that from YouTube, and then you would be using Kaggle to do one or two hands-on exercises so that you could develop some more proficiency in using these advanced machine learning models. I think a 2-month time frame is sufficient for you to be able to go through that, since you have already done the heavy lifting of learning Python and SQL and building your foundations of statistics and machine learning in the previous steps. So this is just a cherry on top to be able to see what is the most advanced and state-of-the-art technology out there. Now coming to the last part on how do you scale it, you need two things. One is learning PySpark and the other is using some cloud knowledge. For PySpark, I think once you know scikit-learn and pandas, this is just a combination of these two with a little bit of changes in syntax. So pandas, which you have already covered, and scikit-learn, again, which you have already covered. If you combine these two, this is pretty much what PySpark looks like, with a little bit of changes on how you write the code for PySpark data frames. Also, since the code would be running in a distributed way, you cannot just write a very simple Python code to do different transformations. You have to write UDFs. So there is a little bit of learning curve. There are some very good PySpark resources in PyCon conferences. So try to search for those in YouTube and try to follow along whatever they're trying to teach you there. Because most of this stuff you cannot just learn by watching, you have to actually do it, encounter some problems, do some debugging, and that's how you learn how you can actually write it in real life setting. So YouTube tutorials for these should be sufficient enough along with follow along. Now coming to the cloud, I think this is a very important thing because most of the stuff is going towards cloud and cloud is the future. The main three competitors out there is AWS, GCP, and Microsoft Azure. Generally, there is a consensus that AWS is leading the most of the market share. So if you want to pick one, I would suggest that you start with AWS. But later on, if you have to switch to GCP or any other cloud platform, I don't think it's going to be a big lift because most of the learning you have here transfer over there as well. And a very good learning path to learn AWS is to do their very basic foundational certification, which is Cloud Practitioner. This is a very basic and nice certification which will give you an overview of different components of AWS, how do they interact with each other, and if you give it 1 to 2 month time, you should be able to do the certification. So overall, for this entire section where you are learning PySpark and cloud, I think 2 months time is sufficient. So now we have covered pretty much everything which we have discussed before. So let's go back to our original slide where we had gathered the job description for different job roles and saw that what are the 10 things which were asked in these job descriptions. Then as a next step, we categorized them into 4 stages. The first one was that of becoming basically a data analyst, where you were learning Python, SQL, Tableau. And then the second one was basic ML, third was advanced ML, and the fourth one was how do you apply ML at scale. And then we saw for each of these stages from where you can learn, how much time you should expect to spend on that. And we saw that give or take, you need 3 months for this first step, 2 months for this second step, 2 months for this step, and lastly 2 months here as well. So in total, it takes about 9 months for you to be able to go from this end all the way to this end so that you could answer all the things which could be asked in these interview questions of these 8 data science job roles. Now all these resources and the roadmap which I have explained should be good enough to get you from 0 all the way to be able to start applying for different data science roles and start getting the interviews. The next step after all this is for you to create a stellar resume. If you need help with creating a resume, I've posted in the description below the exact resume which I have used in the last many years to get hundreds of interviews. And it also has a template which you can fill in with your details and you should be good to go. And once you have built a good resume, then you have to start applying for different data science roles. Check out this video in which I have explained how you can find some low competition jobs where you can apply to ensure that your odds of getting selected for interview are maximum. I hope you like this video. Thank you so much for watching.